Hello and welcome to Spooky Stitches. My name is Sheena Perrell and I'm your host. I'm an author and knitwear designer from the Pacific Northwest, and this is a podcast where we talk knitting, crochet, crafting, and all things ghosts and goblins. So I'm back after my holiday break. I took a couple weeks off just because my day job was really busy. I had a temp job that was taking up a lot of my time, and also with like the holidays and everything and NaNoWriMo, I was just super busy and I did not have time to sit down and film. But right now it is January 5th, so I'm a little bit late getting this podcast up. But I am coming to the end of my temp contract. So starting on Monday, I'll be back to freelancing, I think, until they give me another assignment. So I just wanted to check in and let you know how everything's going. I did finish NaNoWriMo. I was able to hit my word count goal, and then I finished a draft about halfway through December. So I still need to go through, revise it, and do my own edits. But because of losing time due to holidays, I don't get paid holidays because I'm a temp. Unfortunately, I'm not able to send the book off to an editor in the time that I wanted to, because ideally my editor would have started her work on the book already. So ideally my editor would have gotten the book like the end of December, beginning of January, but because of those financial issues, I don't know when I'm going to be able to send it off to her, and that's really upsetting. I think I'm actually going to have to push the release date back. I was originally shooting for an end of April release, but based on finances, I'm thinking now it might not be until July. But it all just kind of depends on what comes down the pipeline in the future. So that's where things stand with NaNoWriMo. I hope that everybody had a great holiday, regardless of what you celebrate, even if it was just your holiday was time off from your work because they were closed. And thank you so much to all of the frontline workers and the necessary people that had to work on holidays, our doctors, nurses, our retail workers, the restaurant people that kept us fed over the break. I really, really appreciate all of you, and thank you so much for all of your work. I'm not going to go into everything that I got for Yule/Christmas. We kind of celebrate both in our household. Ash and I, when we're together, we just celebrate Yule, but then we also do family Christmas. So we do celebrate both. They're more secular holidays for us than religious. But that's kind of just how we divide things up in our household. The thing I do want to show you, because I've been using it constantly, is this bracelet she got me. And I don't think that's going to focus because I'm using my phone, but it is an actual scale accurate ruler. It's on a leather band and it's bracelet, and I have been using it constantly when I'm knitting to make sure that I've, gotten the body of a sweater the right length, or knit the foot the right size, or what gauge am I getting. So this, I've been using it constantly, and if it's not on my wrist, then it's in my knitting bag. Okay, so finished objects. I haven't finished a whole lot. I felt like I was finishing so much in the lead up to the holidays, and then Christmas hit, and it was just like, nope, we're done. And part of it was just like my hands have needed a little bit of a break. My current temp job is data entry, so I'm doing a lot of typing and I'm using my hands in a different way than I normally do because I'm hitting specific combinations of keys over and over again because it's data entry. But I did finish one thing right before the holidays, which you might have seen if you follow my blog or my Twitter, Ravelry, anything like that. So this was one of my whips in the last episode. And unfortunately, it is covered in cat hair because we have 4 cats and everything is covered in cat hair. That is about 25% of the fiber content of everything that I make. So this is Punk is Not Dead, and it is so much fun. It's so squishy. This is, I can't even remember what yarn I used. It was Knitpicks. I will put it in the show notes. The red is called Serrano. The black is just black. And it's just like one of their super budget yarns. It has the corrugated ribbing around here, and then buffalo check. And then I went ahead and added a pom-pom to mine just because I didn't like the way the decreases on the last couple of rows looked. But that's totally up to personal preference. You don't have to include the pom-pom. And I knit it for just like an average human female size head. But if you download the pattern, which is $1.99, it will also include information on how you can scale the pattern up or down to meet your needs. And then it also has information about dealing with things like yarn dominance, managing your floats, and making sure that the checked squares come out looking nice and even. So that is available on Ravelry, Gumroad, and on my personal website, all of which will be linked down below. Also, I did just want to give you guys an update on Gumroad. Gumroad is a website where I use it for my storefront. It's kind of like Etsy, except it's not specifically handmade crafty stuff. They do a lot of different types of products, and for some stupid reason that I cannot understand, they don't actually have a cart function on the website. So if you go to my shop and you want multiple things, so for example, say you want a couple pairs of stitch markers and a pattern, you're going to have to check out 3 times, once for each of those items, and it's going to charge you shipping for those items separately, which is stupid. I agree, it's stupid. So I do have instructions at the top of the page on my shop where if you send me an email, just give me a list of the items that you want and your PayPal email with your address, and I will send you a PayPal invoice for each individual item. I'll give you a discount if you have already purchased one item through Gumroad. I'll discount that item for you. It'll still show up on your receipt, but it'll show up as being comped, so it's 0 value. And then I'll also include accurate shipping. When I'm using sites like Gumroad or Etsy, I have to overestimate what the shipping is going to be because it's so expensive. But if you order from me directly and you order all of those items at once, then I'm able to plug in the exact amount into my shipping software, and then I can charge you exactly what that total is going to be. So you're not paying extra for it. It saves both of us a ton of money if I do it that way. But I did just want to make you guys aware that is an idiosyncrasy of the Gumroad shop. And that's how I'm working around it. If you have any questions about it, again, my email is just at the top of that page. You can send me a message. And if you're not comfortable doing that, again, all of my patterns can be purchased through Ravelry. All of my books can be purchased through Amazon. The Gumroad link just allows me to sell directly to my customers, which saves me money. I make a little bit larger of a percentage, and it also allows me to sell signed books, which I can't do through Amazon, and I can't really do right now because I can't go to conventions or anything. So that's where things kind of stand with the shop right now. And we're going to consider this our sponsorship moment for the episode, because I did not intend to spend 5 minutes talking about Gumroad. But back to the knitting. I have one other semi-finished object. This is not totally done because I haven't woven in the ends yet. I didn't do my homework before the podcast, so I don't remember what yarn this is, but I will link it down below. I just have a basic vanilla sock with a ribbed cuff. It's a shorty sock, or relatively short, just because I'm using leftover yarn. I have another pair of socks that I made from this same yarn a couple of years ago. And you can't really see, but one of them is right up there. I did laundry the other day, and I machine wash all of my hand knits for the most part, but I don't like to put them in the dryer because then they pull quicker. So currently all of my knit socks are on this curtain rod in front of my closet, air drying. Most of them are dry now, but if I have random socks falling off now, socks raining from the sky, I will put them away as soon as I'm done here. I just forgot they were up there. And then going on to whips, I have the second sock from that pair. I just finished turning the heel. I'm doing a short row heel on these because I've learned that that's just the heel that I like best. I do like the heel flap and gusset method. My problem though is that it makes the heel area too large on me. And then when I'm just like sitting around or whatever, my sock twists around my foot and I don't like that. So having the snugger short row heel keeps things in place. I also have a problem when I pick up my stitches. For some reason, that one side will end up with big holes on it. I don't know why. I haven't figured out what I'm doing wrong, so I'm just sticking with my short row heel. This is what I like. It's what's comfortable for me. So here we have it, the second sock from that pair, and I'm just a couple of rows into the leg. Yeah, I don't have a ton of projects that I'm working on right now. Like I said, I'm just trying to finish up some stuff that I had left over from before Christmas. And one of the things that has kind of fallen by the wayside is my World War I sweater. So if you remember, I'm making this for a friend of ours who helped us move, who's been extremely kind to us since we came out to Washington. So this is just a plain stockinette sweater. It's based off of a pattern in the Priscilla War workbook, which is available on archive.org. And I'm using 4.5mm needles, size 7 US. And this is Knitpicks twill in the color Fiddlehead. This right here, I'm about halfway through my third ball of yarn. I just ordered 3 more balls of yarn, which arrived yesterday. I haven't wound them up yet. And this is very basic. I have about 2 more inches left, and then it switches over to garter stitch, and you knit one shoulder, bind off, knit the other shoulder, cast on across the neck opening, and then work down to the back. So it's completely symmetrical, and then you just seam up the sides. So I've been working on this for a while, and this is actually mostly where I've been using this, because I swear the last 4 inches of body front have been taking forever. It's the longest 4 inches I've ever knit. I don't know why it's taking so long, it just is. My knitting basket over here. I also started on this very randomly. It's just some random crochet. It's single crochet on, this is an F, a 3.75mm hook. This was a freebie hook that I got in my last Knitpicks order before the holidays. And it was sitting by my bed, and I'm just like, I feel like crocheting. I need a quick win. I want something that's going to be done fast. So of course I decided to crochet something in single crochet on a small gauge, and you know, as you do. So I don't remember what the colors are. This one is something like Coffeeshop, Cafe, something like that. And this one, I have no idea, but they're in the same color family. The lighter tones in this match the lighter tones in this. So you can see they're just working up really nicely together, and this is going to end up being a bag. I'm just going to knit until I run out of yarn, fold it over, and it's either going to be a little satchel like passport size, or it's going to end up being a small messenger bag if I have enough to fold it over this way. So that's just been like a keeping my hands busy when I don't feel like working on anything else type of project. Now, the main thing that I've been working on, I'm going to have to insert some still pictures because I don't know if my phone can pick this up on video. This is a historical knitting project that I've been wanting to work on literally for years. I started the first draft of this in 2009 when I was working on my master's degree / post-bachelor degree. Okay, so let me back up. So a post-bachelor degree falls in between a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. It's a certificate program that up until about 5 years ago, we did not have in the United States. I got this degree while I was in Florence, Italy, from an American school located in Florence. So normally I refer to it as a master's degree because I had to write a thesis, I had to do all the work. It was just an accelerated pace. And if I say post-bachelor certificate, most people over here, unless they're in academia, and sometimes even if they are in academia, have no idea what I'm talking about. So a master's degree is the closest thing to it. So I was over there studying. I was there for a year, 3 semesters total, once in my undergrad, twice after for the graduate work. And I wrote my thesis on the care of textiles, specifically from burial sites, because I am morbid and weird. And I also developed a fascination with the burial clothes of Eleonora de Toledo and her son. And these are on display in Palazzo PT. Actually, I think they might not be on display at this moment. I think that they had been pulled back at the start of COVID for conservation. And as far as I know, Palazzo PT is still closed because of COVID. I'm not positive. I haven't checked on it in a while because I don't live in the country anymore. But anyway, if you wanted to see these garments, that is where you would go. There's also some pictures online if you don't have $1,000 for a round trip plane ticket, which very few of us do right now. So part of her burial garments were a pair of knit stockings. And these stockings are important for a few reasons. Number one, they are one of the earliest surviving knit garments that we have from anywhere in the world. I think there's maybe a pillow that's older, and then there is a knit undershirt that belonged to Charles I, I believe. And I'm sorry, I don't remember okay, so Charles I would have been after this because Eleonora de Toledo and Cosimo de' Medici were contemporaneous with Henry VIII, and it was Henry, then Elizabeth, then James, then Charles I, then the parliamentarians, then Charles II. Okay, I got it. So this is literally one of the earliest knit things that we have. And it's one of the few items we have that was just like an everyday thing that was worn. They're not liturgical garments. They aren't some special court garb. There's something that was worn every day and was part of her just like casual sitting around the house doing her own thing wardrobe. So I wanted to recreate these stockings. And at the time, I didn't know how to knit socks. I learned how to knit socks while I was in Italy because I was curious about this process. And I learned two things. First thing I learned was that socks were not as hard as I thought they were. The second thing I learned is that the people who made these socks, according to the display at Palazzo Pitti, were really weird. Like, the construction that they outline on the plaque doesn't make any sense. So off and on over the years, I've been doing research on these garments and these stockings. And I'm going to put the caveat on this that I'm going mostly from secondary sources. I'm getting as many primary sources as I can find, but I'm having trouble finding them, and I'm having trouble finding them in English. Most of the ones I've found are in Italian. There's a few in French. And while I can muddle through French and Italian, I am not fluent, and I don't necessarily have the academic vocabulary to understand them. So I can muddle through, I can use Google Translate and kind of pick my way through that way. But I don't have access to the stockings themselves. Even if I were able to get to Florence, there is no freaking way that the curator of the costume department at Palazzo Pitti is going to let some rando from the US touch some of their most valuable items. That's just not going to happen. I would probably have to have like a signed letter from the Italian government or something before they would let me do that. Italy is extremely particular about their antiques and their artwork and their cultural patrimony. They're very protective of it, which is great, but it means that it can be very hard to get anything done. If there's one country that likes red tape more than the French, it's the Italians, okay? And the French beat the Nazis with red tape. I'm just gonna leave that there. So I started working on, I cast these on right before Christmas, and I was just like, I'm just gonna do the thing. And I have the first section of pattern done. I've not even gotten to the leg yet. I'm not even done with the cuff yet. But this is where it is. And like I said, I will insert some still photos that show this a little bit better. But these are knit flat, and they have a knit and purl pattern to create texture. And I think that it's weird that they're knit flat. There's some sort of, I call it origami voodoo magic. When you get to the heel, it's made flat and then steamed up. It makes zero sense to me the way I've read it described, and that's one of the reasons why I want to make this myself. So I'm crafting these. I'm working on size 000 needles, and I've got some Knitpicks lace weight. This is 100% silk. It's held double, and I'm getting 5 stitches to the centimeter, which, as far as I can tell, is the gauge of the original stockings. Again, I'm going off of photos. I have not come across any written sources that list what the actual gauge was. So I'm going off of as much information as I can find on the internet, basically. So it's going to be this zigzag pattern, and then there are these diamond patterns with lace in the middle, and then another zigzag, and then you start on the leg, which is like a seed stitch type pattern. So I'm working on these, and because I'm a glutton for punishment, I also decided that I'm not just going to recreate a stitch by stitch reproduction of the original burial stockings. I'm also going to recreate the stockings in modern dimensions with modern techniques. So no voodoo origami heel magic, just like regular heel. I haven't decided what kind yet, if it's going to be like a heel flap and gusset type situation, but carrying on the pattern, probably somewhere in those lines. And I'm also, so this is how big the stocking is. And as far as I can tell, this is accurate sizing. And it's tiny. So the cuff is a little bit larger, and then you actually size down a little bit for the leg because the cuff gets folded over the garter. And she was less than 5 feet tall and weighed about 100 pounds. So her stockings, her clothing is just very, very tiny. And I went through and I double checked the dimensions based on the photos. They had like a grid in the background, which based on my museum and conservation knowledge, I'm assuming was a 1 by 1 centimeter grid, specifically for the purpose of gauging sizes and recording sizes. Because normally when you have those museum pictures, they have like a ruler somewhere in the photo that shows a scale black to white, a scale of like Roy G. Biv color, so you can make sure that the projection of the color in the photo is correct. And then it also has a 1 by 1 centimeter or 1 by 1 inch, if it's America, grid on it, so that you can gauge the size of the object. These stockings didn't have that. It was basically on large grid paper. So working under the assumption that the stockings were laying on a 1 by 1 centimeter grid, I calculated the length of the leg, the length of the foot, the circumference, and then using what I know about Eleonora's height, I started searching how to determine someone's height based on the length of their tibia, which is one of the bones in your shin, and comparing my dimensions based on that grid with the historical documentation describing her physical appearance with the calculations of how tall a person with that size tibia would be. Because I could guess that the length of the leg of the sock is going to be roughly the length of her tibia. And then also measuring foot size to height. And all 4 of those things lined up. They're not exact matches, but they gave me a height of between 4'9" and 4'11". So from there, I can guesstimate the size of the stockings. So this has been a huge tangent, and I'm sorry about that, but I'm totally nerding out about this. And also from now on, I want my job description to be forensic knitter, because I had so much fun trying to figure out what her height was. And like, part of my training also involved working with bone. So like laying out bones and cleaning bones and comparing bone shape and size to ethnic background and health background and where a person is from and what their diet might have been and what kind of injuries they might have had and what their job might have been. I think that is so freaking cool. So doing this with these stockings has been very exciting, and I'm not very far into it. I'll have a link down below to the website that I created for the project, because I'm not only doing the stitch by stitch replica, like I said, I'm also doing the modern recreation. And then I'm also looking at 2 of her most famous garments, which are her burial dress and her court dress. The burial dress is very simple. You can find pictures of it online. Someone has already done a reproduction of it, like a full reproduction. It took a team of people, very skilled. It's gorgeous. I don't have that kind of time and money. So what I would like to do is I want to take it and make it like a 50s swing style dress, because it's a similar cut. If you're looking at what is laid out on display in Palazzo PT, it's missing the overdress. So I want to make that part of my just daily wardrobe. And then I'm also planning on embroidering fabric to recreate her court dress, but as an 1870s or 80s, either riding or walking suit. I haven't decided specifically what style I want to go for yet, but that thick, fancy embroidery just made me think so much of the Gilded Age and the late Victorian period, and the really fancy gowns that they had. So I'm kind of updating things, but combining it with the original and the original history. And I've also been writing about this a lot. So there are progress blogs on the website, and you can also find information on the project on the Interweave website as of January 26th. I will have my first article about that available on their website, and I am so thrilled about this and looking forward to it. I hope that disorganized ramble didn't just completely confuse you and turn you off from the project. I'm someone who doesn't speak well off the cuff. That's one of the reasons why I'm trying to podcast, so that I can get better at my public speaking skills and creating a coherent narrative just off the top of my head. I'm somebody who speaks much better in a written format, which I've thought about switching this to an audio only podcast, but I feel like the content is so much better in a visual format. So I'm sticking with visual for right now. However, on that note, because my schedule has been so crazy and in flux, I'm not going to be doing the short stories as part of the regular podcast anymore. Before, I had to record in 3 parts. I had to piece things together, and it was just taking a really long time. And I think that if I want to continue consistently putting out content, then I need to put it in the shorter format, which is just me sitting down to the camera with a few notes and rambling and hoping that I get where I'm trying to go in the end. So I do have another story recorded. I don't have anything visual to go with it. So maybe this weekend I'll be able to sit down and do some B-roll for it and release that separately. It's just that right now, every time I try and set aside time to sit down and record, I'm either completely exhausted or we end up having to go somewhere or do something. And this last week would have been so perfect for it because we were snowed in. We got like 5 or 6 inches of snow here where I am in Western Washington, and we were not prepared for it. Our apartment complex just became an entire sheet of ice, and even after the roads were clear, we still couldn't get out. It was totally hazardous. We're built into the side of a hill, so you couldn't get up the hill. I was afraid to go down the hill. So that would have been perfect. It was just my symptoms from my chronic illness were really flaring up that week too. And I don't know if it's because of the weather or if it was just the stress of the holidays catching up to me or what it was, but I just had absolutely no energy between Christmas and New Year's. So it didn't really do any recordings. I meant to record this 2 weeks ago and I didn't have time, and then I didn't have energy. And trying to get both of those things at the same time is almost impossible for me when I'm working full time. Part of me really is hoping that I go back to freelancing as of Monday. I might still hear something from the temp agency, but I could also really use a regular paycheck. Between Thanksgiving and New Year, I had 5 days unpaid because the company was closed and temps don't get holiday pay. So, but anyway, that is more than enough rambling. I've already gone on for 40 minutes, so I really need to cut this down in editing, I think. But that is what I'm working on. I hope you guys stay tuned for my progress on the Eleonora Project and for the other historical projects I have planned. I'm really loving doing the World War I sweater. This has really just inspired me to get back to what I love, which is Victorian knitting and historic sewing and things like that, which again, I have not had the time or the energy to do. And I have chronic illness. That's the only excuse I can give. I'm doing my best with it. I'll put a link up so you can know what I'm talking about. But anyway, I'm rambling again. I will see you guys hopefully in 2 weeks. If I don't get a new assignment, it'll be 2 weeks. If I do, it'll be next month. If I'm working full-time, then I'm gonna have to do monthly episodes instead of every 2 weeks because time, energy, chronic illness. Anyway, I hope you guys are all safe and healthy and that you have something cute and fluffy to cuddle with, and that my cat eating his dinner and snoring is not disruptive to you because I've been able to hear it the whole time. Anyway, see you guys later. Ciao, lovelies.